From our broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the world and beyond, you're watching the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
AVS Media Demo.
Papa Hotel Lima Echo November radio check.
Papa Echo November, good afternoon, read you 5.
Good afternoon, read you 5 as well, Papa Echo November.
The X-Zone radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone radio and TV show or in any manner endorsed by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, Talkstar Radio Network, its affiliated stations, or employees.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone, 1-800-610-7035, toll-free worldwide. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and our main website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. X-Zone Nation, we're going to be talking about UFOs this hour. It's an incredible story of alien encounters. Shurlene B. Wallace, author of From the Motherland to the Mothership, was born in Wichita, Kansas. She has one brother and two sisters, one of which is her identical twin. Shurlene is divorced, mother of two grown children. Ms. Wallace currently lives in Dallas, Texas. She holds an associate degree in liberal arts and a bachelor's degree in human resource management. She enjoys reading, writing, and traveling. Shurlene embraces life and feels particularly grateful to have had such unique experiences as the one she shared in her book. Her desire to help others who struggle in silence with traumatic abduction experiences and to bring more exposure to the public overall. Now, her twin sister, EARLENE CARR, is intimately linked to the phenomenon as well. EARLENE has maintained an incredible interest in the subject of UFOs and abduction stories for many years and maintains a large library on the subject. She has provided unwavering support to Shurlene and has helped unravel many of Shurlene's experiences. Joining me now to talk about their fascinating story is Shurlene and EARLENE, the UFO Twins. Ladies, welcome to the X-Zone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for inviting us.
Oh, it's my great pleasure. Tell me, how did the experiences begin, and who was the focus of the experiences?
Okay. I am Shurlene, and the experiences began in December of 1995.
Mm-hmm.
After 23 years of marriage, I moved from Wichita, Kansas to Dallas to be with my twin, and so we could get closer and be more part of each other's life. And so I started and embarked upon a spiritual journey, or you might say a spiritual path, in which I would read just different books, Conversation with God,
mm-hmm.
Louise E. Hay, You Can Heal Your Life, books of this nature. And the books actually put me, in my opinion, I was just transcended into a different vibration. The books were just powerful, inspirational books, spiritual books that start me on a spiritual path. And with that path, I didn't know that I was opening a doorway to ultimately interact with extraterrestrials. And so on December of 1995, I was at home a Saturday evening, and I just finished having a conversation with a good friend of ours from Wichita, Kansas. And after that conversation, I stepped out onto the balcony. I just looked up into the night. I saw those beautiful stars, and I was just enjoying the night sky. And I went to bed, and a normal night, and I just later that night, I'd say about 1 o'clock in the morning, I found myself on a spaceship.
All right, we're gonna hold it here because we have to take our first 2-minute commercial break. Kind of a cliffhanger, so to speak, an alien cliffhanger. Exonation, our very special guests this hour, Shurlene and EARLENE, were talking about an extraordinary experience that is found in the book, From the Motherland to the Mothership. We're doing a story this hour on UFOs. And we'll be back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away. Exonation, we're talking to the UFO Twins this hour. We're talking to Shurlene and EARLENE about their From the Motherland to the Mothership. And before we went to the commercial break, Shurlene, we were discussing your encounter. And you had gone outside after speaking to a friend, looked up in the sky, and take it from there.
Okay, I was just enjoying the evening. It was just a beautiful, beautiful evening that night, and I went back into my apartment, went to bed, and I woke up and found myself traversing the galaxy. I was on a ship. It was a circular ship. It had a window that circled the ship, and I was able to look out through the window, and I was witnessing the galaxy itself. It was absolutely incredible sight. It was beautiful. I felt it was alive. It felt vibrant. There were other meteorites and ships and all type of things going on that I could view. And the experience didn't last very long. And ultimately, I was returned to my bed, to where they took me from. And I was in a state of shock. When I immediately got up out of my bed, started pacing around, wondering what had happened. I thought I'd been possibly kidnapped. I thought maybe someone had broken into my apartment and taken me somewhere and drugged me. I couldn't figure out what had happened because it was so unusual. So I thought I'll call my sister. She's been studying this phenomenon since she was in grade school. She loved it. And I thought she would be a great source of support and explanation. So, but it was 3 a.m. in the morning when I returned, and I knew I couldn't call her. I didn't want to wake her up. So the next morning, I called her and told her what had happened, and I'll let her, if you like, hear her expression of what she thought about my call.
But before we get to your sister, there's a couple of questions I'd like to ask you.
Sure,
all right.
Certainly.
How long do you think, or how long do you believe that your abduction actually took? How long were you away from your home?
I'm not certain. I know I went to bed, I'd say about 10 o'clock, 10:30 in that area. I may have been asleep for an hour or so before it occurred. I may have been asleep an hour and a half. I'm really not certain how long it occurred. And from what I recall of it, it didn't seem like it lasted very long. So I think I was asleep for quite a bit of time before it occurred.
And in what year did this happen?
This was in December of 1995.
Wow, nearly 20 years ago.
Almost.
Yeah. And
I continued to... Oh,
okay. And when you returned, was there any trace evidence on you that this had actually happened?
Nothing physical, but I felt physically ill. I felt my heart was racing. I was spinning. I felt like I had been out the night before drinking and, inebriated or something, or had maybe eaten something and had a bad dream. I felt physically displaced. My whole body felt chills, and I felt it was cold, and it wasn't cold in my apartment, but my whole body was undergoing some change, and I thought this was some unusual reactions. So again, I didn't know what had happened. It was just very, very disconcerting experience at that point.
Do you have any idea how you were taken from your home into the craft?
No, not on that experience. Now, I learned later, I started having these experiences after that first one, about 2 or 3 times a week, I would be taken away into a ship. And some of the travel, it differed. For example, and I always ask this question, how are you taking it? How do you travel with these entities? But one of the ways I traveled was through astral projection, what's considered astral projection, meaning your soul, your higher self is swept up and leaves your body and travels. The other way I traveled was where I believe they broke down my body molecularly, and I was simply restructured or in the place where I needed to go. So there's different forms of travel.
Now, what can you remember about your first experience? Were there any sounds? Were there any smells? Was it inside the craft? Were you weightless? What were you wearing? What did your abductors look like?
I didn't get to see my abductors. The ship itself was just very pristine. All the ships I've been on has just been just beautiful, pristine vehicles. Why do
you think you have been selected to be abducted by extraterrestrials?
Well, I don't think I was selected. I think this is my sister and I work, our mission, you might say, in this lifetime. I think that we had this prior agreement before coming into our physical incarnation to be exposed to these experiences and this work. And I think it was something that we agreed to or contracted to before we came in.
Prior to your UFO encounter, did you have a hardcore belief in the New Age genre? Spirituality?
I didn't, and I certainly did not. I had never watched Star Trek or any of those types of movies or shows. I had passing interest in the subject. My sister was the one that was just fascinated with it and had all the books you can think of on the subject. And oftentimes she would mention a book or two to me. I may go by it and read it. Usually I didn't. I was so involved with raising my family and the things that come along. I finishing school, finishing college, and all the things that come along with just life. So no, it wasn't something I certainly never thought I would be ever involved in being taken away and interacting with extraterrestrials.
All right. Now, during the first encounter, were you under any psychological stress, emotional stress? Was there anything traumatic happening in your life at the time?
Quite the opposite. I had ended a 23-year marriage, of course, and that is that's always a different journey, a different path, and certainly there are emotions that come along with that. But my primary emotion was joy. For the first time in my life, I just felt I was experiencing my life in freedom and choosing what I want to do, and I didn't have a response. My children were grown in college. My husband and I had separated, so I didn't have those responsibilities. So it was unlike a lot of people, it's traumatic when they get a divorce. I was feeling pretty good. I was reading the wonderful books that talked about we create our own reality, and generally speaking, I was very happy at that point in my life.
All right. Now, at the time when you were abducted, you were alone. You had just lost a husband. Your 2 children were grown. Were they living at home, or had they moved away from home?
They were moved away from home. I moved to Dallas. They were in college in a little suburb of Kansas City. They were attending college. Okay.
Now, have you ever been abducted when you were with another person?
I have had experience. Yes, after my experiences began, as I began in my dating life, there are at least 2 gentlemen that
ended up interacting with extraterrestrials as well, and they had some experiences, and it was I was trying to be a source of support to them as EARLENE had been to me. But yes, I have had friends whom I had long-term relationships with that ultimately were. Look, I think what they're doing is they are looking at who I was involved with, and for some reason, those individuals did get involved to a minimal amount, not very often, but maybe one or two times they had experiences.
How many times have you been abducted?
Oh my God! Well, number one, I don't call them abductions. I call them visitations or contactee experiences because primarily they were positive, and I consider the word abduction as a negative connotation, and normally I don't use that word, but a lot of people understand that word and utilize it, but I try not to use it. I don't ever feel like I was abducted. I felt like I was contacted and continue to have these experiences.
All right, let me rephrase the question. How many times have you been taken to a UFO, a craft not from this planet?
I never really sat down and counted them because at first there were 2 or 3 a week. They slowed down. A number of years later, they slowed down. Our book is just like, I can't even remember how many experiences. The book is full of the experiences. I've had them even since the book was written, and they have lessened to a great degree. I have them probably now every maybe 2 or 3 months.
Now, how many books have you written on the subject?
We wrote the one book titled, again, From the Motherland to the Mothership. And also, as a result of experiences, we've written a song that the Galactics, we call them the Galactics, was inspired by the Galactics, called To the Tune of the Battle Hymn of the Republic. And we recently put that on YouTube, and it's now in 82 countries. We have a little over 4,000 views, and we're very proud of the song. And we know that it was inspired by our galactic friends. My sister wrote 3 verses, and I wrote 3 verses. And it's really lovely.
Why, if we're talking about 2 to 3 visitations a week, and then the visitations have gone down considerably over the last 14 or 15 years, I would imagine. What have you learned through these visitations?
Oh, so many unique things. For example, one of the experiences I was taken to Mars. I was told that Mars is dominated by black people. That was a shocking thing to hear. I'd never conceived of a planet being dominated by black people.
Now hold on.
But I was told that.
Okay, I have to ask you this. So did you finally make contact with the people who were taking you on these extraterrestrial joyrides? What did they look like?
Yes.
What
they
did
look just like us. They look like human. Well, some of them, they varied. Some of them look human being looking. You wouldn't know they were extraterrestrials. They're very much human looking. Some of them were one experience with the Grays. The other entities, one experience with what I call the stone people. Okay. They vary. It's so many races of beings that exist across the galaxy.
All right, ladies, please stand by. We've got to take our news break. When we come back, I want to talk to EARLENE and get the other side of this two-sided story. X Zone Nation, my name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. We're talking this hour about, well, I call them extraterrestrial abductions, for a lack of better words, or encounters, or visitations, however you want to call it. Our two guests are Shurlene and EARLENE. They are the UFO Twins. They're the authors of From the Motherland to the Mothership, and they've got a brand new website that's coming up in a couple of weeks, UFOTwins.com. My name is Rob McConnell. I will be back with these two ladies on the other side of this news break. Whatever you do, don't go away.
From our broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the world and beyond, you're watching the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
You're listening to the X-Zone Radio Show with my good friend, Earthling Rob McConnell, live and around the world on Talkstar. www.xzoneradio.com.
You're listening to the X-Zone Radio Show, live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, and Star Cable. Our toll-free telephone number worldwide is 1-800-610-7035. Our email address, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking to the UFO Twins this hour, Shurlene and EARLENE. They are the authors of The Motherland, From the Motherland to the Mothership, and they have a new website that will be launching in a couple of weeks, www.ufotwins.com. All right, let's go to your sister now, Shurlene. EARLENE is joining us now. And EARLENE, what was your reaction when your sister told you the next day of her very first visitation?
Well, I'll tell you, Rob, it was a morning I will never forget. It was Sunday morning, and I always think of that song by Lionel Richie, Early One Sunday Morning.
Oh, yeah?
She called me, and she said, "You're not going to believe what happened to me last night." And I said, "What?" I was just thinking she went out, and because she'd been, going to clubs and socializing, meeting new people. So I thought she went out and met a great new guy she was about to tell me about.
Yeah.
I was not prepared for what she was about to tell me. She said, "I found myself taken aboard a ship," and pretty much exactly what she shared with you, how it traversed the galaxy, and there was a being on the ship that looked like her husband, but in retrospect, later she realized it was not her husband because he didn't behave like her husband.
Just a second. She told me that she did not meet anybody the first encounter.
No, she did.
Well,
right, Shirlene? It was a being that looked like your husband, Eddie.
Right,
wait
but I didn't
a second,
realize
ladies.
that until later.
Wait a second,
Yeah.
ladies. You're both on the line with me. You're both listening to each other. I asked your sister, point blank, Shurlene, if she had met any ETs on the ship. She said no. Now, EARLENE, you're telling me that she told you she did. So what's the story?
Shirlene, I'll let us explain that.
Okay, here's what occurred. I did not meet any beings. My ex-husband appeared to me and talked, and we conversated. He was in that experience as though he were just now like we were in our married life. Where are we going? What's going on? What's happening? How do I get back to where we need to be? So he appeared and spoke like my husband. After that experience, as I discussed it with EARLENE, my sister, I recognized and realized that was not him. I don't believe that was him. I think what they did was created an entity that resembled and spoke like my husband, and I think that was a purposeful reason to calm me down.
All right, so
I could see someone familiar.
So it was like we have encounters with people who we have either missed or are no longer part of our lives, or we see on a daily basis in our dreams.
Exactly. That's what exactly. It was an planet there, in my opinion. It was planted there to calm this experience. Because when you find yourself on a ship traversing the galaxy, you're going to be basically in shock. So he was a familiar, someone I knew for 23 years, and was married to. So that's the person that appeared. Now, later on, I realized, I think that was one of their projections or one of their creations. Because I asked my ex-husband, I said, "Have you had any strange experiences lately?" I called him and asked him, and he said no.
So I don't believe that was actually him. I think it was a creation.
Okay, all right. So, EARLENE, before we get on with this story, I'd like to go a little bit back into your life. When did your interest in UFOs, aliens, and the paranormal start?
Well, my first conscious memory of my interest in the subject started when I was in the 6th grade. We had to write a paper, and we went to the library. Back in those days, you had to use an encyclopedia for your research. And I'm thumbing through this encyclopedia, and I come across a picture of what they called back then a flying saucer. And I was just totally mesmerized by it. I couldn't take my eyes off that picture. I don't remember what I wrote my paper on, but I will never forget that picture of that, what they called flying saucer. And then as the subsequent years passed, I didn't think about it a lot. Then back in my 20s, I was married with 2 young children. I started developing an interest in books about higher consciousness and UFO stories, and that I would say it really started in my latter 20s as I started delving more and more into the subject. Then I realized I thoroughly believe there is a government cover-up because I read early investigations like Project Blue Book and Grudge, and then I looked at specific stories of people that claim to have had abduction stories like the Betty and Barney Hill story and similar stories like that. So, and then I carried that through my 30s, and like my sister said, I probably have over 50 books on the subject. I'm just totally fascinated by it.
Okay, so before we get back to the story, have you ever had a UFO encounter? Have you ever been taken up to a spaceship?
I believe I have, but I don't have as much memory. I'll tell you one incident. My husband and I were sleeping in our sunroom because our AC was out that night. And so we pulled our mattress in the sunroom, opened up the door, and had a nice breeze, and it was really comfortable. About 1 or 2 in the morning, I woke up back in my bed. And I have no conscious memory of ever getting up from the mattress in the sunroom and going back to my bed. And he woke up around the same time and called me, and he said, "What are you doing in there?" I said, "I don't know. I just found myself here." And then another time I found myself left upside down in my bed where my feet normally are, what my head was. And so I believe that I had been taken and been brought back and put in the bed wrong.
Well,
so I've had some...
What you're talking about is very normal when a person goes into a deep sleep. If you get up to go to the washroom, and if you've moved, let's say your regular bedroom is where you and your husband usually sleep, but that night when you're sleeping in the sunroom, you go to the washroom, your instinct would be to go back to your bedroom. All right, so that's a possibility. I'm not saying that's what happened.
I can't deny that. Yes, that certainly is a possibility.
Okay.
And now I don't have a conscious recall like my sister does. Mine, I think, are more filtered with dreams, and I've had dreams that, for instance, on one time I was taken to Mars as well, but it's more overshadowed. It's not as true an experience as my sister has described. It's more, and I think the reason, Rob, that has been is because I've had a lot more fear. I can read about the subject all day, but I don't think I was really ready to meet an ET or to have the experiences my sister's described, because she has no fear of it, and I know, and I've learned to let go of that fear over the years, but I don't have the concrete recall of experiences that my sister does. I do believe that I am a contactee, but I just believe that it is taken or filtered from my memory before I return.
All right, so your sister calls you up the next day. She tells you the entire story. And
yeah, well, she doesn't tell me the whole story over the phone. I make her come over because I want to hear every single word, and then she comes over and she draws pictures of the ships that she saw while she was in the ship she was in, and I'm just blown away. I mean, I can't believe it. I can believe it, of course, because it's my sister and I know she doesn't lie, but yet at the same time it's just thrilling. Because this was something that I had read about for so long now. It was my identical twin sister experiencing it. So it was just thrilling. I'll never forget that morning, that Sunday morning.
Tell me about the subsequent visitations that your sister has had over the years.
Are you talking to myself, EARLENE?
I'm talking to EARLENE, yes.
Okay. Well, she mentioned the stone people, and she didn't elaborate too much on that. But now I happened to have come to her apartment. It was like 5 or 6 in the morning as she was coming out of that experience, and I could tell, she just looked like she had been far, far away. And when she described the stone people, she said they looked like graveyard stones, but yet they had the ability, they had energy in them, and they had the ability to do a welcoming dance. She said, if you think of Africans and how they dance in perfect synchronicity, that's what it was like. And they moved from the waist, and they did all in perfect alignment and in line, and they did a beautiful welcoming dance. And she said, but they looked like graveyard stones with energy in them. And then she described some beings that looked like egg people. And one of the most fascinating ones I think she described, and this is in our book too, is the pillow-looking being. She was brought to this being that if you take a pillow and turn it sideways, the top of the pillow was the head and the bottom was the body, but the being was dying, and she doesn't know why she was summoned, brought to that being, but she felt like that being was somehow a part of her, and I found that really fascinating too. I think those are those. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't. No. I'm
Did you
I'm
say
listening.
something?
No, I didn't. I'm listening.
Okay. So those are the ones that stand out most in my mind: the pillow-looking being, the egg being, and the stone beings. For the most part, she describes, like she said, other beings looked very much human, just like you or I.
All right, let me ask Shurlene a few more questions. Shurlene, where do these visitors or these friends of yours come from?
They come from various places. For example, I mentioned Mars. I've been taken Mars twice, and they were human-looking. I didn't see anything unusual about these entities. Some of the beings come from spirits. For example, I visited a crystal city, and it was just profound. And the being that was with me was not human-looking at all. Matter of fact, I could sense their presence, but I couldn't view their presence. But yet I knew they were with me, and they took me to visit this incredible site. It's the Crystal City that had life and vibrancy. It was a higher place of higher learning and understanding and wisdom and knowledge. Other beings, I mentioned the gray beings. They appeared at my foot of my bed one time, and they were illuminated looking, and they had these big heads, the typical grays with the big eyes. They vary so much for different dimensions of time and space and so many different planets. I get some of the planets that I was taken to, I can't pronounce the name. I would ask them, would you mind repronouncing that? Because I couldn't understand it, because we don't have words that match some of those names.
Okay, let me ask you this. On these craft, are you able to touch things? Are you able to put something in your hand? Are you able to feel the skin of the ETs? Are you able to smell anything in the air?
Yes. On one particular occasion, I was taken for a medical exam. I get some medical exams. I call them medical exams. Quite often. I should say every couple of months. And so I was given a glass to drink from, and it looked like an Alka-Seltzer. It was a clear glass, and it looked like Alka-Seltzer. But I drank it because instinctively I knew it was something that was okay for me to drink. So I did drink it. One time I had it was an examination that dealt with if a woman went to a gynecologist, for example, and the doctor uses certain equipment, and women will identify with that. Well, I had one of those type experiences. So the next day when I returned, I went to work, I could still feel the results of that gynecological examination, you might say. So I felt like I had been implanted. And one side, I was actually told, I was introduced to what was considered I was told what was my child. So I think that was an experience. That was a quite profound experience. And yes, I was able to touch her hand, her arm. They brought her to the walls of my bedroom, and I was able to touch her and hold her arm. It was quite cold.
Let me ask you: the night after, or the day after you had your internal examination, Did it occur to you to go to a doctor to get this validated so that you'd have some kind of proof?
Not on that particular occasion. That was early in my experiences, and I was still grappling with the ideal.
So you didn't then. But have you since
Not
then?
on that.
Okay.
Yes.
Since
then I have.
Okay. Do you have any collaborative evidence from a medical practitioner that what you are experiencing is real?
I had a kind of rash-looking thing on my arm, which came from an experience. So I went to the doctor. My sister said, let's just get this documented. It's just time to get something from a medical practitioner.
Yeah.
So I went to him, and I showed him my arm. He said he'd never seen anything like it. He didn't know what it was. He didn't know what it came from. He couldn't identify it. And then he asked me, what are my thoughts about it? He's asked me, how did you get this? Which is a typical question a doctor would ask.
All right. Okay, ladies,
so
hold on here.
Okay.
We've got to take our final break here. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Exo Nation. Ooh. Our guest this hour, Shurlene and EARLENE. They are the UFO Twins. www.ufotwins.com. And we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with this fascinating story as we continue. Where? Right here from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. And our website, www.exonradiotv.com. I'll be right back. Don't go away.
Emergency.
This is Elijah.
What?
Elijah, you know Elijah?
No, I don't.
Well, they know me down at the police station. Well, hey, why does that keep beeping like that?
It's on a recording.
Oh, hey, a recording. That's great. You're not being recorded?
Yes, sir.
Hey, that's great. I want everybody to hear about me. Pretty soon I'll be world famous.
That's the truth.
I'm going to Jerusalem pretty soon. God's going to take me his way, a spaceship. UFO, you better believe it. They're everywhere. Everybody has seen. Millions of people have seen them all around the world.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, that's right. And God bless the police officers and the scientists and the ordinary people that talk about these UFOs, for they do exist, and I know all about them. I'm a ufologist. I'm the #1 scientist on this planet. I'm an authority on them. I'm a scientist.
Okay.
Yeah, you heard of Albert Einstein?
No, but I'm going to have to go. I got other emergencies.
Well, I can explain it to you. His formula of relativity.
Well, I don't have time to hear Einstein's theory of relativity.
But it's very simple. E does equal MC squared.
That's right.
Okay, Emmanuel equals the Messiah coming the second time. It's elementary right there, Watson. Einstein was a Jew, and I'm a Jew, and very few people in the world understood him. That's right. I'm an engineer, I'm an electrician, a plumber, everything. I can do anything.
Well, that's wonderful.
And I'm the world's greatest entertainer. Well, I'm worth about $50 million a year.
Elijah, I got to go now.
Okay. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, lady, you lady.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. Shurlene and EARLENE are our special guests. They're the UFO Twins. Their book is entitled From the Motherland to the Mothership. Their website, that'll be activated in a couple of weeks, is www.ufotwins.com. So quickly, Shurlene, did you actually get any documentation from your doctor saying that he couldn't understand what this was? And did you go to another doctor to get a second opinion?
No, I did not go to another doctor. The first doctor, after examining me and inquiring about what do you think this is yourself? What were you in poison ivy? Those type of questions. Yeah. I know I wasn't exposed to poison ivy. Nothing. So I told him finally what occurred that brought that about, which was my experiences with extraterrestrial, and that occurred as a result of that experience. And he didn't know what to say. He was looking. He was surprised. He just drew a blank.
Okay,
he'd never heard anyone say anything like that.
All right, so I'm running out of time fast, and I've got a couple more questions I want to get in. So you went to the doctor. He didn't understand what it was, and you didn't go for a second opinion. Okay,
I
next.
did not.
All right, next. Have you undergone regressive hypnosis?
One time we were involved with a support group, and a lady did hypnotically regress me, yes.
And my final question, have you undergone a lie detector test?
I have not.
Would you go under a lie detector test?
I would definitely definitely love to. I would have no opposition to doing so.
Ladies, we've come to the end of the hour. I want to thank you ever so much for joining us, and we'll look forward to visiting you online at www.ufotwins.com.
Thank you, Rob. For having us.
Ladies, take care. Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye-bye.
You too. Thanks.
All right, X Zone Nation, that's it for this hour here on the X Zone. What do you say? What do you really say? There's no proof. There's no evidence. There's no trace evidence. I asked Shurlene at the very beginning of the interview if she had met an alien or an ET or anyone on the ship. She said no. And yet, her sister said yes, she did. Something doesn't jive here. It doesn't jive. The fact that you go to a doctor, you don't get anything documented, and you don't go to a second doctor to get his finding collaborated with. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as the X Zone continues, where? Right here from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell, and do I believe the story? Not in your life. We'll be back. Don't go away.